This video introduces the Guitar Pickup Tone Database. Several years ago, I was chatting with an associate about the problems guitar players have in selecting the right pickups. This is a big problem because, number one, pickups aren't cheap. Number two, the guitar has to be disassembled to change the pickups. What we need is a way to do basic comparison of pickup tone without having to take our instrument apart or spend a lot of money. Most guitarists have played many instruments and have some idea of how different pickups sound. A guitarist who is dissatisfied with his guitar sound has some idea of what's missing. So he might say this thing needs more high end, or this guitar doesn't cut through the mix, it needs more mids. Knowing what tone change is needed and what kind of pickups are in the instrument to start with, a database of pickup tones could be used to select some candidate pickups. Well, that's exactly what we have in the Guitar Pickup Tone Database. So here's our database page, which is free for everyone at ZEROCAPCABLE.com. There are two lists of pickups, A and B. Each list contains hundreds of pickups we've sampled. First, select a pickup from each list for comparison. Here we're selecting a Guitar Heads Alnico Supreme Humbucker and a PV Vintage Single Coil. Clicking the Get Pickup Info button reloads the page with the data for those two pickups. We've provided three ways to compare the pickups. The most obvious is the graph of the frequency response, and you can see that on the page. This is like the graph of an audio amp's response, but with pickups. The frequency is on the horizontal axis and the loudness on the vertical. Each pickup typically has a flat area where the response is pretty even across a range of frequencies. Then on the upper frequency end, the curve rolls off, which limits the treble response of the pickup. You can see that on the two curves we have selected. The blue curve is for the Guitar Heads Alnico Supreme Humbucker and the red for the PV Vintage Single Coil. The blue curve is higher by about 7 decibels or 7 dB, and that means the humbucker will be noticeably louder. This makes sense since the humbucker has two coils and more windings. Humbuckers are just generally louder than single coil pickups. However, the frequency response is another story. The single coil pickup has a flatter response out to a higher frequency, and as we will find momentarily, you can actually hear the difference. The second way to compare pickups is by listening to sound clips. Now, it would be cool if we could install both pickups in your guitar and record you playing it. Then you could make the best decision about which pickups to use. However, that's not really practical, at least until you strike it rich as a star. So we need some way to compare the pickups in as fair a way as possible, inexpensively. Here's how we do it. We recorded a reference sound clip of a few chords using an acoustic guitar. This is the reference clip. This sound clip has a decent range of tones. The sound clip is then digitally filtered through the displayed response curve to give it some of the character of the pickup. It's not exactly as if the chords were played on your guitar with the selected pickup, but it's about as close as we can get without hacking up your guitar. The result is that you can compare how two different pickups sound. The sound clips are linked under each selection area labeled Select Cable Options to Chart. There are several options for each pickup related to different cable and loading conditions, which I'll explain further on. The third way to compare pickups is with our similar pickup score. Wouldn't it be nice to know which of hundreds of pickups are similar sounding? So you have some kind of humbucker, for example, and want more power or more high end. What do? Well, our similar pickup scoring takes care of that. Below each pickup's picture on the web page is a list of the 5 best matching pickups. We mathematically look at the frequency responses and pick the best matches. For example, under the Guitar Heads Alnico Supreme Humbucker picture in the left pane, we see that the best match is the Gibson SG Humbucker. Select that one in the right pane and click the Get Pickup Info button. We see that the graphs are pretty much identical, with the Guitar Heads pickup having more power. The sound clips reveal that the Gibson pickup has a bit more high end, but these two pickups would be quite similar sounding in an instrument. So there are the three ways of comparing pickups: the response curves, the sound clips, and the similar pickup scoring. Oh, but there's more. You know that the type of guitar cable affects the sound of your instrument, because the longer the cable, the more capacitance the cable has. Cable capacitance rolls off the high end on passive pickups. Also, the volume control in the guitar has a resistance value that affects tone, as does the input resistance of the amplifier. To reveal how these factors affect your tone, there are 7 or 8 options for loading the pickup as it would be in the real world. These conditions are selectable just above the picture of each pickup. You can select the cable length and the volume control resistance with those checkboxes. Select one or more as you like. Each checked box plots a response curve on the graph. Also, each checkbox's label is a link to a sound clip which you can listen to whether the checkbox is checked or not. There should be a condition there similar to how you play your guitar and rig. Note that the conditions marked zero cap cable are very low capacitance conditions similar to the sound you would get using our zero cap ultra low capacitance guitar cables. If you're building or modding a guitar, knowing how the capacitance and resistance affects the tone is very important. That could be the difference between building a winner or a loser. Just changing the volume control value from 250K to 500K makes a noticeable change in the tone. There's a pickup and pot resistance calculator on the web page for guitar builders to use. This pickup database reveals a lot about guitar pickups. For example, the difference between humbuckers and single coil pickups. A humbucker has twice the wire, twice or more of the inductance, and twice the inner winding capacitance of a single coil pickup. This results in greater high-frequency roll-off. In fact, the internal capacitance is so great that cable capacitance has less of an effect on a humbucker. However, due to the dual coils, humbuckers have 6 to 10 dB more output than single coil pickups, which equates to more drive for your amplifier. This also means that single coil pickups are more tunable by adjusting the cable capacitance, tone control capacitance, and volume pot resistance. So there's always a trade-off. A word about levels. In the sound clips, we have not attempted to preserve the relative differences between the pickups because it would make it hard to compare tonal characteristics. The levels are preserved, however, in the graphs. So you'll see 2 graphs which have quite different levels, but the sound clips sound about the same volume. Use the graphs to compare the output of the pickups. Some pickup winders have written in to say that our graphs look different from theirs. Well, that's because there's no standard regarding the testing of guitar pickups. We designed our test equipment to conform to good engineering practice, and no doubt they have too. However, there are numerous selectable conditions under which each pickup is tested, whether on their rig or ours. Those conditions affect the resulting data as well as any post-processing such as compensation for the human hearing response, which we don't do, by the way. Once again, the power of this tool is relative comparison of various pickups using the same testing method to measure each pickup. You can do the same comparisons using your methods as long as you use the same method to measure every pickup. Manufacturers have written to ask if we can include their pickups in the database. Well, the answer is yes. If you manufacture pickups, you are welcome to send us samples for testing. We'll test them and promptly send them back to you in new condition, assuming they were new, and make the data available here with a link to your website. So contact us about sending your pickups in today. Others have asked how we collect this pickup information. We designed a custom device to measure these pickup responses, and it works whether the pickup is in or out of the instrument. This does not consist of a vibrating string rig, as we have seen several of those in use by others. Our measurement technique measures the pickup response only and totally ignores the acoustic nature of the instrument itself, which would color the results. Here's a photo of our device called Pickup Analyst, capturing a response. We became interested in this matter while testing our ZEROCAP guitar cables, which have very low cable capacitance, and they open up the sound of the guitar in an amazing way. In doing some testing to quantify and understand the technical reasons for this improvement in tone, we realized that we could plot pickup responses under a variety of conditions and that this information would be valuable to guitarists, so we did. We sure hope that you and your friends will use this guitar pickup tone database to select your next set of pickups without all the hype and the squishy musician terminology. And thanks for visiting ZEROCAPCABLE.com.